Good morning and welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. I'm Brenden Rendo with the Homes in Orlando team at Next Home Neighborhood Realty. Got a lot of stuff to go over today. Some changes coming about as far as interest rates. The mortgage rates holding pretty steady. We do have the Fed meeting next week, where right now looks like we're gonna end up with another cut. But interesting enough, buyers are still sitting on the sidelines overall. And then existing home sale numbers came out today and were extremely flat. So we're going to go through that. And then one of the big news is the federal deficit broke $38 trillion. So we just keep piling up the debt. So we're going to take a look at that. So good morning and welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. Well, good morning, and let's hop right in. The nice thing that we see happening, and it's been refreshing, is that we have seen a decrease in mortgage rates. Today, they're holding right around that 6.17%, just above the 6% rate. Um, and it looks like possibly with another Fed cut, we'll continue to see the rates decrease a little bit. I've been watching the spread between where the treasury bill is and where mortgage rates are, and we're still sitting above 2%. So we know historically from talking about this in the past that the median historical difference between where the treasury bill is and where mortgage rates are really sits about 1.5%. So that still leaves us room to pull rates down a little bit. So if we can get that extra 0.5%, that may actually help, because what we're seeing overall is that people still are not hopping into the market. I mean, what we're finding is it's just not enough. I thought maybe, getting down to that 6% rate range, that we might see some people coming off the sidelines, but really not seeing it. They're not seeing a tick up. And what we've seen historically over the past 3 years is that purchase mortgage applications really have been very low or very flat. So that on average, we're about 160,000 mortgage purchase applications per month. And you can see here, it started dripping again at the end of the summer. So where we had peaked a little bit, we're actually back down to around 160,000 mortgage applications per month. And this time of year, you generally have a little bit of a pullback anyways, because we're starting to get into the holiday. Summer's done, for a lot of areas in the country. That bump that you get during the early spring, summer time frame is gone. And here in Orlando, we really saw an absolute beating in the month of August. We had a nice little peak, little jump in September, but now here in October, and we're going to see that from the numbers today, that home sales are actually decreasing. We didn't get that continuous bump that I thought we might be able to see from the decrease in the rates, from roughly about 7% down to, for the past couple of weeks, say 6.25. So that 0.75 point difference really isn't driving, isn't getting people off the sidelines to go and purchase houses. And I was watching an interview with Barry Habib, who's a very well-known mortgage lender, and he came out and he's spewing the same old thing over and over again. And I disagree with him in that he said that, we're not going to have home price decreases. We're not, that would be so bad. It'd be horrible, that interest rates alone decreasing should be enough to drive the market up. And I think he's completely wrong on this one. I've disagreed with him before and found him to be wrong in a number of areas. And this one, Barry's wrong. He's wrong again, in that the difference in your payments from 6.5 to 6.25, 6 to 6.5, just isn't enough for a lot of people. Not when you take into consideration the insurance costs that have continued to increase, um, just the overall expenses for people, and people are just tight. We've seen here recently in the news, there's been three major bankruptcies of subprime auto loans companies. And that's kind of was a precursor to a lot of things that happened badly in the housing market back in 2007, 2008. We had the same situation, in that you saw other areas of credit start to turn bad, because your house is a lot is you're gonna no matter what you're gonna do, you're gonna figure out a way to have a place to live, to pay the mortgage. So you're gonna let the credit card go. You're gonna let the auto payment, the car payment drop. And that's what a lot of people are starting to do. And the other area that we're seeing some very nervous um things happening is in the commercial space. Commercial mortgage-backed securities have hit a high in defaults as well. And there's a small bank, I probably just can't remember the name of them, but they've just taken a $68 million loss on their holdings in commercial mortgage-backed securities, which was roughly about 10-12% of their overall holdings. So credit wise, there's a lot of things that are just not helping us, that should be, for a lot of people, should be warning signs that this market's gonna possibly can go through a much rougher uh, time than what a lot of people are saying. So I believe it was UBS, came out and said there's now a 93% chance of recession next year. So you got to watch these things for people who are sitting on the sidelines, buyers who are sitting on the sidelines. In this situation, what I would do is one is continue to save up so that you've got a bigger down payment. Um, so that will help your overall payment, but also know that, hey, you've got, again, we talk about this every week, is it may not be a bad time if investors are coming off the sidelines and finding opportunities. You as a buyer should be able to find opportunities. One thing, I've got a call later this afternoon with one of my buyers, where we're taking all the past withdrawals over the past 180 days in the area that he likes, and I pulled together a list through MLS. I sent it to him, and he's gone through it. And there's 4 or 5 houses that we're going to reach out to with a pre-approval letter already in hand, saying, "Hey, we know you didn't sell your house, but I have someone who may be interested in it." And actually, I have an actual buyer that, yep, here you go. So there's things as buyers that, if you're pre-approved, if you've got everything lined up, there's what I would call unconventional ways to go about finding the house you want to look at. It just doesn't have to be listed. You can look at other areas as well. And that's one of the best ones, is going back through the withdrawal, going through the photos, saying, okay, let's send them a letter. Let's put a phone call out. Let's send them a text, follow up and see if, hey, because often in those situations, you can get a better deal because, one, they're desperate. Most people that are selling now need to sell. They have to sell. They're not selling because they want to get rid of the 3% or 2.5% mortgage. They're selling because, situation in the family, job situation, they need to sell. So you got to kind of have to look at unconventional ways to to get out there and present yourself to people who, you know we're looking to sell, but now have taken their house off the market. So never hurts to knock on their door and say, "Hey, I got a pre-approved buyer who's interested in your house. Can we do a video tour and see if this is the right one for them?" Just a different way to approach it, and it works. It works sometimes. I've done 2 or 3 that way, and amazingly, it's actually, you know, you're kinda nervous doing it, but it works. It's just another way to go about finding the right house for you. So we're looking so as we're looking at this, as the buyers, as a seller, what this means to you is, man, your house has got to be top notch. The ones that are selling fast are the ones that are top notch. I've got another buyer who's coming in here at the beginning of November, and all the houses that they're looking at are over in the Wyndham area, and they've been on the market for, I think the lowest one was 55 days, and the average is about 78 days. So again, opportunities for buyers. So sellers, you gotta look at that and say, you know, what's making my house not sell, compared to the other ones. And you want to do something, go out and look at your competition. That I love doing that with my sellers, take them around to the houses because it really opens up their eyes to see, hey, this is what the competition looks like. What can I do to make my house better than it currently is so that it will draw people as opposed to my competition out there. So we got the numbers today from NAR for current housing sales, and as you can see right here, it's flat. I mean, we were up about 1.7% from in September over August, but August was just a dismal number overall. So really not a lot of growth there. And the other thing is you're not seeing the growth in appreciation, especially here in the South. When I look at these numbers, I don't really care about the overall US numbers because it's true. Real estate's local. Real estate's local. You've got to concentrate on the numbers that are local. And here you are in the South, we're only seeing a 1.4% appreciation for the year on homes. That's not a lot. Is it realistic though? Yeah, because you're seeing so many price cuts. I believe last month in Orange County, or last week, we had 574 price cuts. Seminole County, we had 374. Volusia County, we had 475 price cuts. And I update those every week for people. So if you ever want to see who's cutting their prices, go visit for sale on the front page. By county, the 3 counties, Seminole, Orange, and Volusia. I update every week all the price cuts for every home in those counties. So it's very flat. And then the other big news we got today is we broke $38 trillion on our debt clock, and we knew this was going to happen. I shared with you, back in, I believe it was June or July, that the Treasury came out and announced, hey, we're going to borrow another $1.5 trillion before the end of the year. Well, they hit it. They actually borrowed about 1.8 trillion. So our debt continues to grow. And the thing that I always tell people, and this always makes me nervous, is at what point do yields start to explode because people have less and less faith in our country that we can pay back this debt? Do you realize that 33% of government revenue right now goes to pay the interest on the national debt? 33%. That's before we pay out anything else. If you are going to apply for a home loan, and your credit card debt interest was 33%, you would never buy a house. They'd look at you and tell you you're freaking nuts. Go pay off some of your debt. I mean, this is where I go. I can't stand either the Republicans or the Democrats, because you neither one of them wants to actually stop the spending. I understand what Trump's trying to do. Trump's trying to increase the revenue so much that the percentage actually decreases of what's being paid out towards interest. But you can only at some point you can only increase revenue so much, and then you're gonna have to make those cuts. But he's not making them. Republicans aren't making them. Democrats definitely aren't going to make them. So at this point, I'm kind of glad the government's shut down. I don't know if you noticed, but skies are clear and blue. Amazing how all the chemtrails have disappeared. So again, it's putting continues to put us in a situation that we can see a lot of things blow up, and uh, just drives me nuts. Now for the Fed for next week, the meeting is on Wednesday, the 29th. And right now we're at 99% chance that we're going to have another quarter point cut. And this is already baked into the numbers. It's already baked into the treasuries. It's baked into the stock market. So we're going to get the cut. Um, we may get, initial day or two, we may get a little drop. Maybe we'll see for the first time in a long time, mortgage rates dip below the 6% level. But I think we'll kind of end up just like we did in September, is we took the dip and shot back up. So we'll see. We'll see how this happens. Will it make a little difference? Probably a little bit. Not a whole lot to your wallet, not a whole lot to your payment, but it might. So let's get into our Orlando numbers, because these are dismal, absolutely dismal. Past week, we only saw 362 homes sold um, in the MLS. Inventory has started to come back up the past couple weeks, which is kind of nice, making sure there's a lot of opportunities. And usually this time of year, you see housing inventory be very flat. Not a lot of people want to put their houses on the market. Less homes come on the market generally in October, November, and December. January is when you start to see the numbers rise again. But this past week, good number of new homes were actually increased by 46. So that's kind of nice. Our condo market's just same as always, trickling along at roughly about 100 homes per week being sold. Now, this is interesting because we decreased in the number of homes sold in the past 2 weeks. Our months of inventory that dropped to about 4.3 is back up to roughly about 6 months of inventory. And old school, 6 months of inventories, buyer's market, complete buyer's market. And then when we get over to the 1 million mark, which amazingly, I do draw inspections for a couple hard money lenders here in the area. The number of new construction $1 million homes is absolutely nuts. I've done probably 12 new construction $1 million plus homes inspections in the past 2 weeks, and I'm just like, who's buying them? Because I don't know. So we're up to 10 months here, and look at the percentage of original list to sales price in $1 million plus homes. We're sitting at roughly 89%. So if you're looking at $1 million plus home, find the original list price and then take off 11%. And that's on average where you're going to be for pricing on the home. And you can pretty much stick right there. And even after price cuts, you're still at 94%, 93.81. And then for the overall market, we're sitting about 92.5% of original list price to actual sales price. So there's a good amount of discount for buyers that are out there, because they're sitting. Look at this, 72 days on average on market. So graphically, when we look at it, we see again, here's the 400 homes line. And really since mid-August, well, actually beginning of August, we've been fairly consistent of under 400 homes per week in the Orlando market being sold. And here's our inventory, total actives. You see, after August, we started taking, beginning of August, actually, we started taking a little dip. We leveled off, and we're actually getting a little bit of a jump in in the inventory. Then here for our condos, here you go. Months of inventory for the condo market right now. There's 4,400 active listings, and we've got nearly 10 months of inventory. And again, original list to sales price. Take that original list price, knock off 10%, and you're right in the ballpark. You're right in the area of where that condo is probably going to sell. And look at this, average days on market, 90 days. So these things are sitting. These things are sitting. I mean, if you see it's 120, 150 days, you're that's typical. That's very typical for a lot of these condos on the market now. And again, it's because of the additional cost. The HOAs have just gone through the roof. So the market overall, just to recap, rates are better. Buyers are getting in a better position. The market really, if you're in the market or you're thinking of looking in the market, it's not a bad time. Remember, if investors are looking to buy, they always look to buy at the bottom, what they consider the bottom of the market. Are we at the bottom? I'm not quite sure, because I don't feel there's anything that's going to really push us up, that really economically, when you talk to people, everyone's feeling tense out there still. Still not sure how the tariffs are going to work. We got the Fed, or the government being shut down, which I don't think's a bad thing necessarily. Maybe we'll cut our spending a little bit. But there seems just to be an overall tension economically for a lot of people. You're seeing it because the credit card debt has gone through the roof. Credit card delinquencies is up. Car payment loan defaults are going through the roof. You've got companies defaulting. You got commercial real estate defaults higher than they have been in years. So the underlying credit market is not in good shape. And that's where I see possible disruption coming further. I don't think we'll have the 2008 crash, simply because the loan types are completely different. But I think we are going to continue to see, which we have, is the number of foreclosures continue to increase, or the number of short sales continue to increase, because prices are being driven down. And all those people who bought from 2021 to 2023, they go to sell. They're going to be in the unfortunate situation that they're going to find that their house more than likely is worth less than what they bought it for, or the same. And when you look at the cost to sell, they're going to be upside down, and they don't have the capital to sell the house. That's where I think we're going to be. Well, thank you for joining me, and we will see you again next Thursday, as always. And thank you for joining the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. Please like, subscribe, and join us every week. Bye-bye.